All right, everyone. Hello and welcome. My name is Jason Levine, and for the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to be talking about what's new in Adobe SpeedGrade CC 2014. In fact, these are some new features because many of you will know that we just had a huge release of stuff in June, a mere 2 months ago. But again, the promise of Creative Cloud, continuous innovation, continually delivering new features, new innovations, new great things that we need, that the industry is changing, and we're doing it, we're bringing it to you, and I'm using a lot of words that I don't need because we're running out of time. I also want to point out that today, every day of the show, we are giving away a one-year membership to Creative Cloud, so if you're feeling lucky, please have your badge scanned by my lovely assistants. They will scan your badge, and you will be entered to win a copy of Creative Cloud, a one-year membership to Creative Cloud. Okay, it is day 4. All right, so, SpeedGrade. Lots of changes. First and foremost, you're going to see that the UI looks a little bit different. Actually, you will see this across all of these next versions coming. Premiere Pro, After Effects, SpeedGrade, Prelude, and Audition all have a new reskinned user interface. A little bit darker, a little bit cleaner. Any amber orange text has been replaced by this lovely shade of blue. And I think you're going to start loving this. And you're also going to find that there have been a lot of enhancements, a lot of refinements to the way SpeedGrade works to feel and function in a more familiar way, more like Photoshop, more like some of the other applications. Of course, we've only had SpeedGrade for a couple of years, but the integration and the tight integration between SpeedGrade and Premiere now is amazingly impressive. Also want to point out that we now have full support for high DPI on both Mac and Windows, as well as support for transmit 4K output, transmit BM devices, direct link performance enhancements, and so much more. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I like to approach SpeedGrade as someone who loves and now really enjoys color grading but didn't study color theory. That's really not my background. So I always approach it as an editor who got into color and just wants easy ways to perform quick grades, whether it's on rushes, dailies, what have you, but also in a way that just kind of makes sense and functions in a familiar way to a lot of other plugins and things that you may have seen. Here's what I'm talking about. In regards to presets and things, you'll see down below in our looks browser we've got all these different stylistic looks, right? And these are just different types of presets that you can audition or could audition previously to let you know how to get started. I love presets because it's sort of a way to get you started into color. Previously, however, to audition a look, you had to click on one, which would then let you see a preview, click it again to actually add it to the layer stack, and if you didn't like it, you would then undo that. And to click, add, undo, just to try out a preset look seemed like a lot of work, and we heard this from our customers. They said, it's just too much. I would love it if I could just somehow quickly hover over a preset, or at least show me a display of what it's going to look like instead of this strange image down here. Well, we couldn't do that before. So now it's our great pleasure to introduce new hover previews in SpeedGrade, and you can see that as I hover over each one of these various stylistic looks, it instantly shows you what that look will look like applied to your clip. This alone is amazingly awesome because you can preview all these various looks very, very quickly. So as I scroll through here, these are some of the speed looks, cine looks that we added last October in the October 2013 updates to the video apps in Creative Cloud. And you can see very quickly it'll give you an exact idea of what this is going to look like. So if I want to actually apply these now, I can just single click to apply, or even better, I can simply take the look and drag it over to the layer stack, and now you can see it creates a little group for us, and we're done. So we have drag and drop functionality in SpeedGrade as well, new in this coming version of CC 2014. Now what's also cool is that we allow you to stack multiple looks. So again, I can go back to style, or maybe I could go into film stock, where again we've got these various film stock emulations. And I can kind of choose one that I like here, maybe this Kodak 5205. Click and drag that in. The other cool thing is that once you have these groups, you can move them around, and what is also new is you can see that now you can place it anywhere in the layer stack. Previously, you could only place either at the top or the bottom. Now you can reorient these layers in any way that you like. You also have new options for grouping all together. So let's go ahead and add a couple of primaries and a secondary here. I can now multi-select, so multi-selection is now available in the layer stack, couldn't do that before, and I can now use a standard Adobe shortcut, Command-G, to create the group. When I do that, you'll now see that you have an opacity slider individual opacity control for each of the groups in question. So this is really awesome. Again, this was something that a lot of our customers were requesting. Now you have the freedom and flexibility to do that. Hover preview, instant grouping options. It feels and functions more like Photoshop and Premiere and After Effects, and it's just one more reason to love this application, outside of the fact that the 32-bit floating point color pipe with the Lumetri color engine is just absolutely phenomenal. So lots more to show you here. I want to skip over, though, to some of the other amazing technologies that we're doing between Premiere Pro and SpeedGrade, and yet another new thing that we introduced just back in June, which many of you may not have seen. So let me go ahead and close this for a second. I'm not going to save any changes, and let's hop over to Premiere Pro. So in Premiere Pro, we have here a rough cut. And as is often the case, let me go ahead and turn my sound down. You know, you do a rough cut, and now the director wants to see what you've been working on. And as many of you will attest to, and we heard this from customers all over, when you're bringing the director in, they don't necessarily want to see your very flat, untreated, non-color corrected cuts. They can't really envision the story when it's so bland and flat. So traditionally, if we wanted to add some color to this, we would have to render out this timeline, right? We had a function previously, send to SpeedGrade, which would perform a render, it would flatten everything. Or you could do an EDL, which would still perform a render and flatten, but then you'd of course have all your cuts. You could then color correct and treat it in SpeedGrade. Then you'd have to render it out again, and that's what you could show your director, which is a fine workflow. Not exactly real time, not exactly fast. If I know the director's coming, what I would ultimately like to do is do a quick grade, have all this stuff running in real time, be able to make changes to it in real time as he's watching it, and then keep on working without having to waste time rendering. So we heard from customers, we have something called dynamic link, which is a non-render, non-destructive process between Premiere Pro and After Effects, bringing After Effects comps into Premiere and vice versa. So our customers said, why can't we somehow send the Premiere Pro timeline into SpeedGrade, grade it, and send it back, again, without rendering, without doing any kind of crazy proxy, anything, just native files, back and forth, no rendering. Well, I'm very happy to announce that now we have that, and it's called Direct Link to SpeedGrade. So from Premiere Pro, I can go to the File menu, choose Direct Link to Adobe SpeedGrade. It's going to send it over. The first thing we'll be greeted by, it's going to launch SpeedGrade if it isn't already running, and it will then pull up a dialog which is going to allow us to choose the exact sequence that we want. Here's our sequence importer, in this case the direct link sequence that I built. And now, here we are, inside of SpeedGrade. And as you can see, we can even pull up our scopes here. Let's go ahead and pull these out a little bit. This is the Premiere Pro timeline. We are now seeing the Premiere Pro timeline inside of SpeedGrade. All the same color coding that we saw in Premiere Pro exists. Any effects, or in this case, transitions. You can see down here I've got a cross dissolve that was applied. All of these things you can see in SpeedGrade. This is the Premiere Pro timeline exactly as it appeared. And we've even gone ahead and grayed out the unnecessary areas because here, for this direct link process, it's all about the color grade workflow. So now we can begin getting to work. So as I start to scrub through these clips, and I keep choosing the wrong mouse here, again, I could come over to one of these here, perhaps this shot, and if we wanted to start with one of these film emulations, I could add one of these. We've got some adjustment layers, so I could do an overall film stock emulation on the whole thing and then grade each clip individually. But there was something that I started noticing. As I was going through these clips, particularly this scene right here, I've got some close-ups and some medium shots, but actually these were all sourced from the same master take. How do I know that? Well, look at the name of these 4 cuts, img3177.mov. So these are subclips, right? Subclips cut from one long master clip. Now, in the previous version of SpeedGrade and Premiere Pro, and by previous I mean before June 18th of this year, we had no concept of master clips. So if I wanted to grade these 4 instances, these 4 subclips, it meant applying 4 separate filters to each one of those, which is fine. It still would have played in real time, but it seemed unnecessary because ultimately it's the same master. Why can't I just apply one effect to one clip, seems more efficient, and let it propagate all the existing subclips? Well, now, very happy to announce that SpeedGrade and Premiere Pro CC 2014 both understand the concept, the notion of what a master clip is. So I can simply select one of these, denote them as a master clip, which you see here, And now if I go into my Speed Looks, Cine Looks here, I can choose one, and I happen to really like this blue ice. Go ahead and apply that. And now you can see that it has applied that filter to all of the subclips in one step. Okay? Super cool, way more efficient. And now, if I want to see this back in the context of Premiere, let's say I'm going to add some additional elements or tweak the edit some more, just as we had direct link to SpeedGrade, from SpeedGrade we have direct link to Adobe Premiere Pro. I can click on this, I can send it back to Premiere Pro, again non-destructively, no rendering, there it is, wind back, select our sequence, there is our artist Jesse Boykins with the effect applied, and if I go ahead and select this clip, hit the F key and go into my effects controls, now you can see that on the master, 3177.mov, is the Lumetri effect. Again, this is the Lumetri engine from SpeedGrade with that effect that was applied, but it's non-destructive. So if I wanted to bring this back to normal, I can disable this. Now as I scrub through, you can see that all those subclips are again now unprocessed. Go back again, turn it back on non-destructively, and now everything is back to processed. Okay? So direct link, real time, whether you're working in 4K, 5K, 6K, we're real time all the time. 32-bit floating point, 444, amazing color, amazing efficiency, a direct link between the grade and the edit. And now you can literally be doing this kind of work very quickly while the director's next to you. There's no rendering involved here, right? So this gives you amazing flexibility when you're wanting to do quick grades on rushes and such, and really just give it a little more to help you tell that story in these early stages of rough cut. All right. Now one more thing that I want to show you before we get to some of the other super cool features, new things being brought to SpeedGrade CC 2014, again deals with some of the very cool preset pieces of content that we give you in SpeedGrade. So this is a multicam shoot that I did a couple of years ago. I've been developing a children's music show for some time. Starting to sound like a broken record. I've been developing it, it just hasn't come out yet. And I like to have guest musical artists on the show with me. So this gentleman here, his name is Fuzzy Island. He's a classic blues picker, plays in the style of Mississippi John Hurt. He's amazing. And I heard he was coming into my town. I called him, I said, hey, can we do a session? He said, sure, you can come to my hotel. So in that moment, I quickly grabbed 4 condenser microphones, my Martin acoustic bass, 2 cameras, 3 Kino Flow lights, some stands, some cables, ran to the hotel, set everything up, turned the lights on, hit record into Audition because everything is being multi-tracked live, sat down and said, okay, Fuzzy, and hi, welcome to the show. So what are we going to do today? And we just took it. He's a blues guy. Who likes the blues? Okay, blues artists, when they go into a studio situation, they don't do multiple takes of things. That's not the blues, man. It is what it is. You just roll it. And that's what this was. So we rolled, we played 4 songs, each one of them was perfect, it was awesome, it was great, I got the take I want. I get back home, I look at my raw content, and the first thing I notice is the lighting is horrible. The second thing I notice is, wow, I forgot in the hurry rush of getting everything together to adjust the picture style settings in my DSLRs, right? So we all know when you shoot with DSLR, just like pro cameras, drop saturation, drop contrast, drop sharpness, because if you try and grade over this, look, already the blacks are crushed, right? There's no latitude here. It's already oversaturated, it's already sharp. This is a mess. And I have a nice salmon color to my already pale pink skin. Gross. No one wants to look at that. I need to make this look better. Well, fortunately, we now have camera patches in SpeedGrade CC. We actually have worked with all the camera manufacturers to allow you, even after the fact, to apply a flat LUT to your cameras, not only to match them, but also just to get them at that 0 starting point so you can actually begin grading. So let's go ahead and send this over, just like we did before. Let's direct link it to Adobe SpeedGrade. We're going to choose our multi-stack. Go ahead and open this. And here we are. And you can see, by the way, every time you direct link, it's faster. So notice this was a second. So here we are. Now, you will notice that just like before, we've only got 2 cuts in here, but each of these is again sourced from the same master. So again, we've got this master clip scenario. Previously, I would have to grade each of these tracks. You know, we would be using 4 different presets. Now I only need to use 2 because I can make these into master clips. So let's go ahead and take this first shot up at the top here. Tell SpeedGrade this is a master clip, and now we're going to go into our SpeedLooks camera patches, where you will see that we've got presets for everything from Red, Blackmagic Cinema Camera, Blackmagic ProRes, RAW, CDNG RAW, Canon 1DC, 5D, Mark II, Mark III, Canon 7D, C300, Sony F55, FS700, GoPro, Nikon D800, Arri Alexa, and more. We've already got all the profiles for all of these cameras. So I happen to know these were a while ago before I moved to Nikon, so these were done with Canon. So what I can do is I can go ahead and choose this. So let's go ahead and let's use the second one here and apply that. And again, because I made it a master clip, you can see that it's been applied to both of the cuts there. Let's go ahead and turn that track off, go to this one. Once again, we'll tell SpeedGrade this is also a master clip, and we're going to apply the same Canon 7D to that. And once again, you can see that that's been applied. Perfect. Turn our track back on. Let's go ahead and direct link this back to Premiere Pro. Here we are, back in Premiere. All right, so now you can see we've got that nice, flat, creamy, 0 starting point where we can now begin to grade. Now, because this was part of a multicam edit, I started adding some effects to that via an adjustment layer. So I've got some fast color corrector, and I've got a Lumetri sort of 70s styled effect. My style in general is kind of 70s, and I grew up in the 70s watching children's shows that were very organic and just analog feeling. So I started to kind of do a very 70s style, desaturated, very warm tone kind of color, and eventually came up with something that looked like this. And I can play a little bit of this for you here.
Creole bells, when stars do shine, I count on my Creole need.
All right, and just to give you a reference here, let's go back to our original clip. Let's go ahead and I'll turn this on so you can see. Now let me go ahead and turn off the profiles. All right, that's me taking my sound check there. Let's go ahead and turn this Lumetri effect off. So again, go to a similar cut there. So there's the original. That was the sound I was making when I looked at that. And here's the post-treated version. Much nicer, much warmer, much more natural. And you can see I'm smiling about it. I'm so happy. Okay? Camera patches. Can't emphasize enough how much of a time saver this is, how much it saved the day for me. Okay? All right, so now let's go back to SpeedGrade. Let's get out of Premiere Pro. I've just got a couple more things to show you, and if you are a Photoshop user, you're going to love this even more. So as mentioned, we've done a lot of things to really improve upon some of the workflows here. Let's load this from the desktop. And with regard to effects, we've done a couple of new things in our shaders menu. So first of all, we've grouped them into different themes. So if we come down to the shaders menu down here, I don't know why that just popped up. Come down to our shaders menu, you'll see that we've now got, again, theme groupings here: film, color match, video, stylize. But the ones I think you'll be most interested in are in the curves menu. So it is my great pleasure to tell you that now we have both hue saturation curves and RGB curves in SpeedGrade. Ah, yes, yes. So RGB curves, let's go ahead and grab those. Here we go, zoom back out. The great thing about these RGB curves is that they look and feel and function just like the ones in Photoshop, just like the ones in Premiere Pro, just like the newly redone 32-bit curves in After Effects CC 2014. You've been asking for it, we've been able to deliver it, and again, if this is the way you like to do your grading and your color, now you can, okay? Do a little S kind of thing right here, you get the idea. All right, RGB curves and hue saturation curves. You can see I've already got one applied here, so let me go ahead and reset this. Now the nice thing about this is that you can see we've got some presets for CMY and RGB here. So I can just sort of click inside my HueSat curve and do sort of a global saturation or desaturation. What I'm thinking is I'm going to desaturate everything a little bit, and then what I'd like to do is just enhance the sort of earthy red-orange tones of his vest and his sweater there. So I can go ahead and pre-select the reds. I can come in here and I can drag in another point, and now simply by adjusting this single point you can see that I can emphasize and increase saturation in just this color range or desaturate that color range, and you can use any number of points along this hue saturation graph here. So again, this is something that we heard quite frequently on forums and elsewhere from our users. They really wanted this functionality, and now we have this built into SpeedGrade CC 2014. Last thing I'm going to show you is a feature that, honestly, every time I use it, consistently amazes me, and that is shot matching. So, here we have our shot of Jesse Boykins, and I wanted to kind of give his particular performance a similar look. This is another shot of mine from this children's show. Again, very 70s kind of styled color. As you look at the original and you look at me, could we have two more different looks, right? And if I wanted to try and get his image to look like this, I didn't study color theory. I know how to use SpeedGrade. This would take me a very long time to achieve. I'd be playing around. Yes, I might eventually get there, but it's going to take me a long time. There's a better way, because we have a feature in SpeedGrade, which quite simply is aptly named Match Look to Master Playhead. And you can see there's a little typo right there, and it says Playhead. So I can go ahead and select this, and just like that, it matches the look. Now, is it absolutely perfect? No. But it's a starting point, right? It's a way to get us that much closer, so now we can go in and manually tweak this. The idea is that before, right, would have taken me forever. Again, single click, gets us halfway there. Think about matching shots between cameras. Think about your design department giving you a still that you had exported from the video, and they said, okay, this is the look for the lobby card, for the website, for the design. Match this look. Color the video like this. Now you can. Very simply, very easily. Is it always perfect? No. The point is it gets you very close. It gets you started. And then you have all the manual controls, right? All the manual capabilities that I didn't even get into here to adjust your offset, your gamma, your gain, your input sat, contrast, temperature, etc. You still have all that capability, but now we're going to help you get there a little bit faster. My friends, this is really just a taste, just a little bit of some of the incredible new innovations being brought to CC 2014, and again, across all these video apps. It's all about constant innovation. That's what the Creative Cloud is about. If you want more information, please see my colleagues at the other side of the pod. We've got more great stuff coming up in just a second here. I believe we have, our friends from Angry Birds are coming up now. So again, stick around for that. This presentation will blow you away. Thank you so much. Have a great IBC Day 4. We'll see you next time. Thank you.